At this time,
Arancibia? Here. Lopez?
we will now hold a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance. I think it'd be appropriate if we remembered all those lives lost in Turkey. And over your heart, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Discuss the following issues. 1, student expulsion, suspended expulsion, reinstatement, education code 48916. 2, 48918, government code section 54957. 3, Commerce Legal Counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 is subdivision B 6. The board took the following action by Solis, seconded by Arancibia, to approve the reinstatement of 1 student with a vote of Arancibia, yes, Amaro, yes, Lopez Cepeda, yes, Solis, yes. Moved by Earl, seconded by Lopez Cepeda, to approve the reinstatement of 1 student with a vote of Arancibia, yes, Amaro, yes, Solis, yes. Moved by Solis, seconded by Lopez. Approve the request for leave of absence for 1 certificated employee with the vote of Arancibia, yes, Amaro, yes, Lopez Cepeda, yes, Solis, yes. Moved by Solis, seconded by Lopez Cepeda, to deny the request for leave for absence. Lopez Cepeda, yes, Solis, yes. Arancibia, seconded by Solis, to approve the non-reelection of 1 certificated teacher with a vote of Arancibia, yes, Amaro, yes, Lopez Cepeda, yes, Solis, yes. Moved by Emerald, seconded by Lopez Cepeda, to approve the release and reinstatement of 1 principal commencing by a credential as determined by the district. With a vote of Arancibia, yes, Amaro, yes, Lopez Cepeda, yes, Lopez Cepeda, yes, Solis, yes. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Vote please.
Carriaga?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The board is very pleased to recognize a student from London on the official event t-shirts. The student and her family are invited to a special MVP luncheon on the 2023 Science and Engineering Expo Day, which is the largest event of its kind in Southern California, and the school will receive a $500 donation. Please help me congratulate Ms. Tiela Ward for this outstanding accomplishment. Right there. Come right. You want to say something?
No, we have our own version.
All right. Yeah, we get a picture. We'll come around, press down.
Oh,
Excellent. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. 1. Perfect.
Mom and Dad, what is on the
Can someone please hold up the t-shirt? Oh, she has it. No, thanks.
One, two, three. Nobody counts these days. 1, 2, 3.
All right, here we go. Ready, everyone? 1, 2. Oh, yeah, back up. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Nice.
We will now have a message from our superintendent, Dr. Moises again.
Thank you, President Segura. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our February 13th board meeting. Since our last board meeting, there's been a lot going on across the district. I wanted to highlight some events. So Alta Vista hosted its mid-year graduation since the last board meeting. Congratulations to Alta Vista new graduates. San Isidro hosted a nationally televised game on ESPN. It was very neat. It was great exposure for the kids on the San Isidro basketball team. There was a Viva mini retreat. I had an opportunity to visit with Sweetwater High School and some of the teachers there. It was a great visit. We hosted a meeting of the Audit and Finance Subcommittee. We hosted the Rice Conference, for helping to coordinate that and convene that, so thank you so much. So I had an opportunity to visit with Montgomery Middle School and all of the work that's going on there. We also celebrated the Counselor of the Year at the Counselor Appreciation Week event out at Olympian High School. It was a wonderful event to get out there and support our counselors. We hosted a meeting of our legislative sub-hoc committee, which reviewed some of the legislative priorities that will be coming forward at a future date to this board. I also met with the Counselor Advisory Board, and we had a meeting with the San Diego County Office of Education, who hosted and convened a meeting with the California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators with the goal of providing some supports and services to our African American students. So it was a nice event pulled together by Dr. Paul Gothel, and we were one of the 3 or 4 districts that were invited. So thank you to the county office for that support. And lastly, kind of hot off the press, the state superintendent, Tony Thurman, announced the model continuation high schools, and one of our very own, Palomar High School, was selected as winner. So big congratulations to
We'll now have a report from the student board representative.
The ASU presidents raised a concern about the bathrooms at the schools and how many students haven't been given the opportunity to use the facilities during passing periods. Admin has enforced to close the majority of bathrooms across campus, the sole ones being overcrowded with lines 10 to 20 people long. We saw this across skipping from the students, and one school, however, has mentioned it to administrators and are hoping a solution will arise and motivation to put forth their best efforts among students. The usage changing process, taking a toll. The internet is out across the entire district. And finally, on a brighter note, graduate dates have been solidified to the majority of schools, and 0 complaints have been voiced from seniors. And I think there are many.
Thank you. The board would like to welcome the VLAC Vice President, Ms. Carmen Gutierrez, who will present the VLAC.
Buenas noches, señores y señoras comunistas. Soy presidenta del programa de estatal de acerca de mi reporte. Ustedes ya recibieron por email y tengo entendido de que lo más importante para nosotros estuvo en nuestra fue de la importancia de la reclasificación de los estudiantes, de cómo
I'm here to, you had the opportunity to read them.
De cómo los ofrecemos la información y de cómo nos preparan para ayudar a nuestros hijos.
The main for our students.
En ocasiones hemos tenido, nos ponen programas.
We've had the opportunity to receive presentations that are very, these programs are very easily understood.
El programa de doble inmersión.
We have dual immersion programs in 4 schools.
Hay veces que los papás no tenemos conocimiento cuáles escuelas son las que tienen este programa. Yo estoy en el distrito de National.
I'm part of the National School District through my student, and our national has only 1 school that offers dual immersion.
y estoy buscando la manera de cómo en niñas, porque tengo que llevar a mi hija a otra escuela porque la middle school y la high school.
Oh, I was not aware that our districts,
En nuestros reportes nos hablaron acerca de la importancia de tener un wellness room para los estudiantes después del COVID. Vinieron varios problemas que muchos niños lo venían guardando.
carrying stresses that the pandemic exacerbated that stress.
Para que los papás tengamos herramientas de cómo manejar una computadora, porque la tecnología pues no es de muchos papás.
Important because many of our parents do not have digital or computer skills.
Animarlos a que también se involucren más en la escuela.
Something that is very critical is that our representatives go back to their school to share this information with their peers.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias y que tengan buenas noches. ¿Alguna pregunta? Disculpen, estoy nerviosa.
Board members having questions? Comments? Yes. Trustee.
Muchas veces no solamente para compartir con nosotros, sino con el resto de la comunidad. Gracias.
Thank you. We'll move to D1, conduct public hearing and authorize the application of general waiver requests to provide a 14-day extended school year ESY program for students with disabilities from June 5th, 2023 through June 23rd, 2023. I will now open the public hearing. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Mr. President.
The hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion to authorize the application for a waiver request?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Carriaga,
Yes.
Arencibia,
Yes.
Emerald,
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
This is a point on agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes to do so pursuant to board bylaw. The board may limit the time for public comment on any single topic to 20 minutes per topic. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take action on or respond to the matters not posted on the public agenda, but refer to the matters to the superintendent's office for review and report. Thank you for your cooperation.
Kathleen Shears.
I read the following post on Instagram. Been meeting with Black students who have been sharing stories of how their white teachers are making their classes look at photos of lynchings and videos of police dogs and hoses for Black History Month. This is not Sweetwater I'm referencing. I just want to make that point clear, please. They share how it has made them dread the month of February and not want to engage with our history. The stories of the brutality of white supremacy against Black people is not Black history. That is white history. History that doesn't center us, that isn't for us, isn't Black history. Stop traumatizing Black people with white history during Black History Month. End of quote. I called my daughter to discuss. Her response: Mom, when I was in the 2nd grade, our teacher taught us about slaves, how Black people had to fight for equal rights, and then Martin Luther King was assassinated. When I came home from school that day and I saw Dad, I thought about him being a slave, and I went up to my room and I cried. She was in the 2nd grade. This morning, my husband of 47 years, who's also 84 years old, reflected. While children need to know the ills of this country, Black history, they too need to be educated on the many contributions a plethora of Blacks are responsible for. But it is also important to recognize there were whites who were good people. Whites as a whole must not be demonized. This coming from a man who was raised in the Deep South, drinking from a colored fountain, a man who endured tremendous discrimination. I speak of this in hope Sweetwater is preparing and not simply talking the talk. Assembly Bill 101 takes effect in 2030. 7 years may seem a long ways off, yet much work needs to be done before then to ensure a quality ethnic studies curriculum is prepared. What is the plan? Respectfully, what persons will be leading the effort? Is there a committee? who is on the committee. Hopefully, Mr. Dumas is recognized as a quality resource. It is important the greatness of all of our non-white students' heritage be an integral part of any curriculum. While tonight I have focused on the Black aspect of ethnic studies, it would be derelict of me to not include others such important ethnic groups such as Mexican, American Indian, Jewish, Filipino, and others. Each and every ethnic group has many accomplishments which must be included in our effort to provide a quality curriculum which demonstrates this country was made by many great colors and religions, not just we whites, and also not just men. Thank you very much.
The approval for the school site safety plans for Sweetwater's 32 schools. However, it is not the plan that I am concerned with, but rather schools' actions in time of need. You may be aware that there was an incident on Friday at San Isidro High School. You may also remember there were online threats and another lockdown at the same school at the beginning of the school year. As a parent, I expect clear, accurate communication from the school and the district to be handled seriously. That did not happen once again. Once more, parents were left to 2 emails from the school. The first referred only to an outside incident. A second said they were searching for a suspect in the back of the school campus. The reality is, San Diego Police Department saw 4 to 5 men standing around a car in the school parking lot that smelled of marijuana. As the men began walking away from the school gate, that object ended up being a loaded ghost gun with an extended magazine. The suspect then ran to the athletic fields and jumped the fence behind the school. Walking out of the gate while the police says, "Please lock it down right after this, ma'am," she continues walking out. "'Cause I just ordered food, sorry." What? Her own safety, the safety of the students? I don't know what she was thinking. Food is not more important than keeping people safe. Rather than complain, I think it's time to consider in school parking lots. This would enable parent volunteers. And second, since the beginning of the school year, that car and the video has been sitting there. I doubt this was the first time there was an incident going on. We need better control of our campus parking lots. We need truthful communication from the schools. I'm asking the district as well to share data with parents and the community on criminal activity that takes place on school grounds, including weapons, drugs, and physical altercations. These statistics should be made available to the public monthly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Belinda Tapia.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Aguirre and board members. Today, I just want to read a statement of how all the incidents occurred. I've been at SUHSD High for 22 years now. In November 1st of 2021, Mr. Nadia, assistant principal, called a union meeting, and there he referred to me as just a copy clerk. Was humiliated. The very next day, November 2nd, the next day, that he wanted me to log into my computer. Crossed, and Mr. Acala did witness this in front of the reception area desk. I did log in and I felt intimidated. November 18th, Brandon Duncan from the Information Technology came to see the principal secretary. That happened because all the emails were rebuffed and found out that a student had been kicked in the head and needed to be picked up with a golf cart. I radioed it. Then another one was a very intoxicated student in the girls' 300 restroom. I also radioed it. 2021, that's when Miss Lilia Storga, we were testing the phones. We found out that the main line, 619-476-3300, was being sent to a number which was 619-427-8030, where students in the ASB were answering. However, normally 619-476-3350 is where they answer. I emailed Mr. Agata and admin, including Ms. Kate, who was dean of the ASB then, asking them, did we add another number, 619-427-8030? Because somehow the main line was going to that number. It made no sense. December 14, 2021, Ms. Martha Padilla from Information Technology, Ms. Ferd's desk. Mr. Atala, my principal, was aware of this. Later, I realized that I ended up somehow with 619-476-3372 and 619-476-3348. That same day, Mr. Nita was assigned my new supervisor. On 2022, Mr. Nita, assistant principal, called another union meeting. Troy Johnson was present, and I was asking me a question. Do you understand how Form Entry works? Can I continue?
You need to wrap up.
Okay. The whole point is I've been feeling harassed, and I was relocated by Miss Wong, and I was put in a room where I was isolated. I was not assigned to any duties, and 3 campus assistants were covering the main entrance, the reception area. The whole area was removed and rearranged, and then I was there on Thursday and Friday, and Ms. Wong called me into a meeting saying that I was sending parents to the attendance where they were supposed to be sent to another department. I broke down and cried. I'm not new to reception, and I do feel sabotaged, and I do feel intimidated, and also I feel abused mentally and psychologically. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Russ Moore?
Hello, good evening. I've sent emails to all of you for the last several months. I provided data, student essay, and a lot of information about why you should not close learning centers. I've been trying to reason why it's been so hard for all of you to understand what we're all trying to tell you. And then it finally came to me. All of you see learning center students as a number. All of us see those as our kids. We want to protect them. We want to nurture them. We want to teach them, and we want to see them grow and become successful. You have no connection with them at all. And this is where the problem lies. Until these students have meaning to you, you will continue to make the wrong decisions that directly affect their future. Teachers and counselors are the foundation to education. We are the experts in the field. And what we do every day for kids is extremely important. I'm asking all of you, listen to our expertise. We're no longer in a budgetary crisis. Instead of closing effective programs, we should be rebuilding behind. As of Friday, 670 or more behind on credits. The district's current plan is to move these students to independent studies, adult school, or have them do credit recovery on the main campus. The district fails to see that these students are not being successful in a traditional setting. The plan is to recover their credits and earn their high school diploma. We have a program that has been doing this for the last 40 years. You don't need to create anything new. All we are asking you is this: listen to our expertise, leadership, to provide a plan for the 2,000 students that need this program every year. These students need you. Please, don't make them only a number. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Dion?
Good evening. I'm here tonight to speak on a number of issues. I emailed each of you regarding these concerns, but with the email being down, maybe that's why you haven't gotten back. First, I'm here to advocate for keeping the 3 remaining learning centers open and continuing to offer our most at-risk students this program as an option for completing their education. Dr. Aguirre, you've made it perfectly clear that this is when and why the initial decision to close the learning centers was made, and to ask you to direct Dr. Aguirre to work with the association and find a way to keep the 3 remaining learning centers open. For those who were on the board and those new to the board, the initial decision to close the learning centers was made during a budget crisis, which we are no longer in, and was never because the program was not successful. Mr. Segura, you were one of the 3 board members who voted to keep the 3 learning centers open. Do you no longer believe in those programs or those kids? As a district who is currently looking at applying for a grant to add community schools, it seems silly that you would close a program that embodies what community schools are all about. Second, I realize that board members are being led to believe that under our current leadership, everything in the district's office is running smoothly and without issue. But I can assure you that couldn't be further from the truth. And I can also tell you this isn't just a scene with management. You got quite an earful from your administrators who share the same frustrations. Fortunately, though, for you, none of them are going to come speak publicly because they all want to keep their jobs. On a daily basis, information being disseminated by Human Resources Department is riddled with mistakes. Mistakes with job postings, numerous errors on worksheets, on new salaries, correct information not limited to association leadership at the district, move to labor relations where it's not much better. Requests for information go unfilled for months at a time. There's a lack of follow through on practically everything. Agreed upon commitments are not being adhered to by labor relations staff. Some very questionable practices are taking place, and there's a complete breakdown in communication. When trying to reach someone in either department, it can be frustrating when calls and emails go unanswered. Labor relations just adds to the challenge of bringing a resolution to the issues. It's insane that I have to spend so much of my time overseeing the work of folks who collectively, with statutories, make roughly $700,000 a year. So unless those folks are going to give me part of their salaries, I don't think I should have to do their work and oversee their work. Third, I know that there were some of the IT issues that are out of how we disseminate information to our staff at SUHSD. Long information to staff was shared piecemeal and was conflicting. As well, I checked our website and multiple social media sites throughout the day to see if there was anything that informed our families, and it wasn't. Lastly, I would like to take this opportunity to say congratulations to Grace Faust from Olympian High School, who was selected as SUGA 2022 Counselor of the Year. We are proud to have Ms. Faust represent us, and Dr. Aguirre, I would like to thank you for joining us and helping us celebrate Grace, and all of the other administrators who actually took part in recognizing our counselors. Thank you. Tom Mayer.
Hey everybody, you might not know who I am or how I earn a living, but I'm a learning center teacher, learning center teacher. My biggest concern I'm having is there's an utter lack of communication between us and other people. It's like we feel like we're firing off emails and Google presentations into the abyss. No one's responding. And the ones that do respond, we talk about it and they're like, holy crap, we have a problem, right? They see that the class 25 is going to have a 44 credit diploma. That's happening. That's today's freshmen. That's today's sophomores. Okay. That means they're already going to be an 18 credit deficit than what they have now with this 26 credit diploma option. It's no longer here. The last class is next class. That's it. So we have to find a way now to get those kids 18 more credits somehow in an environment that has only been an abject failure to them. For a myriad of reasons, I've shared them all with you. I haven't heard anything back. I'll share again when the internet's working. There's countless reasons why these kids come to us. Credit deficiency, it's not credit recovery, it's credit deficiency. Credit recovery is handled on main campus. Credit deficiency is why they come to us. They are not in an appropriate environment there. That is not for them. They have proven over and over again, this is not going to work. I don't have the executive functioning skills. I'm homeless. I'm transient. There's 1,000 different reasons. And we push them aside. That's adorable. We're going to send you to IS. And we're expecting you now to go to IS, a program that is traditionally, when you enter it, you actually come out of it further behind than when you went in. But that's cool. We're going to take care of that. If that's not going to work, all right. There's always adults. Sloppy Joe's down in the corner down. Hand you a bucket of sponge. Good luck. Tell them Sweetwater sent you. Come on, man. F3, I'm your inside man here. I am a really nice guy. I'm afraid I didn't want to grab this microphone and say something ridiculous. What I'm just trying to say is reach out back to us because we understand it's an issue of labor. We understand it's finance. We understand it has to do with the program. Okay? The program is the most fine-tuned machine we have in the district. It's ridiculous. For 40 years, we crush it. We have more kids that come to us. The student-to-teacher ratio is the best in the district. The efficacy is the highest in the district. We often run a profit for this district. A profit. Okay? We have money now. Let's keep it. Keep our students instead of dropping them off. Let's go to stretch limos and drop them off at every local charter. Hey, have a good look over there. We're tired of looking at you. Number B, and you are turning your back on them for absolutely no reason. You're losing money, your own job security, all kinds of problems are going to be the direct result of this. You're only getting away with it right now because we're coming out of a pandemic with a 26 credit diploma. The dust is settling. When the dust is settled, you're going to be looking around a lot of kids that don't have a diploma and a lot of seriously pissed off parents. And if you think it's interesting for just the general population, let's take into consideration the special ed aspect. You don't have a FAPE offer, guys. You guys know what FAPE is,
Please
right?
wrap it up. Your time's up.
Wrapping it right up. That whole FAPE thing is critical. If we don't have a place to put these kids, we are going to get sued to the Stone Ages. You know, I know I'm wearing a aluminum foil hat, I get it. But I am someone you can talk to with severe concerns, right? I teach at Sweetwater, man. I see it every day. I had some things recently happen to my kids I can't even talk about. They were so bad. I mean, keep you up at night, all right? What's the saying work? Just get back to me. Email you, contact me.
Tina, the microphone work?
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Aguirre, and community members. Before I go into the main part of what I am going to address you with, I'd just like to make a correction regarding the RISE conference. I am a proud committee member who coordinated that. One of the other folks who coordinated is Mr. Kevin Smith over there. Love labor with parents, students, and staff, and it just came beautifully. So I just wanted to just publicly put that out there. I've been before you as a counselor with over 30 years of school counseling experience. I came into this profession because of a promise I made to a young man who, during my senior year at UCLA, died by suicide. I was not there for him during the time that he needed support. My promise to him was to care for my students the way I would want my child to be cared for, to be courageous and be their voice and advocate, and to be humble and grateful for this responsibility. I am sure that when you embarked on your current life journey as an educator or became involved in education, you also had a defining moment that led you to this. I wonder if you remember. I ask because it appears that decisions based on money and politics come before decisions based on what is good for students. I am talking about the learning centers. If Sweetwater is a district of equity and restoration, why cut the learning center programs? You were asked at the last board meeting why. What fiscal concerns are imminent to warrant this elimination? First, the public was told that the district is fiscally healthy and therefore is able to give raises. Then the public is told that the elimination of the learning centers is a fiscal issue. Which is it? Maybe the purpose of the learning centers is completed. The learning centers were worth saving while Mr. Segura's and Ms. Carbuccia's family members attended them. What about the students and families who currently need it? They're not important enough to keep the programs open? Dr. Moore, in a way I feel bad for you. I know that you know firsthand what students who attend alternative programs need. You are principal at San Diego Unified for an alternative education school. In fact, a write-up for you in the Deeper Learning Equity Fellowship says, in all of Vernon's roles, he has consistently advocated for students, especially those in the margins or labeled as at risk. In that advocacy, Vernon has remained committed to develop and sustain multiple opportunities for all students to make salient connections to school and experience success. Dr. Moore, my question to you is why are you so quiet? Where's your voice?
No further speakers.
All right. Clerk of the board, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, the following items are pulled. F3 by Ms. Lopez Cepeda and staff. Item F6 by Mr. Solis and staff. Item F7 by the public. Item F.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Vote please.
Carriaga,
Yes.
Valencia,
Yes.
Emerald,
Yes.
Lopez de
Okay, let's move to F3. Anybody want to
I will start.
start?
I will start. Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches a todos. I would like to share what I've been up to lately. I was privileged to attend the RISE African American Conference at Otay Ranch. First of all, to Ms. Peralta, thank you for hosting such an event, and thank you to the coordinators and organizers. It was beautifully done. It was a great opportunity for scholars and their adult supporters as the resources that are in the community. There were many sessions, lots of good sessions. We're there because they have a true belief in what the potential are of our scholars. Also, outstanding speakers. Okay. I also visited Sweetwater Learning Center this past week, and I enjoyed the great conversations I had there. Thank you for sharing all of that wonderful information. I will be hopefully attending the research fair on Wednesday, and I'm really looking forward to that. And everyone have a great rest of February. Kind tomorrow on Valentine's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll go next. I will be attending the STEM fair. Hope to see you there, as trustee Lopez Pérez. And then I have a CIF coordinated council meeting. Then I'll be going to Council Park for their Title IX and then visiting a couple classrooms after that. The only request I have is I'd like to request a robotics presentation around our CT program here, and maybe a robot, some students. And that's all I have. I've been out of town for pretty much the whole night. For any activities I was going to attend, but I had to be out of town. Anybody else? Trustee Emerald.
Move this microphone over here. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. I also was at the RISE fair at Otay Ranch, and it was a real eye-opener. I enjoyed sitting in on some of the conferences and learning from the students. One in particular, diaspora discussion about the path that our African-American students or friends and families and history have had to traverse, and how much work is still ahead. True equity throughout our system and our society. I learned a lot, and my ears are open. And I sat in on a college application program too. And man, has it changed since I was filling out forms for CETA jobs back in the early 70s. It was really inspirational, and they even invited we people sitting in to offer input too. And met a wonderful young writer, bought a couple of her books for little kids, and they're heading off to my grandnieces now. And all in all, I was really inspired. I looked around for my old colleague from the San Diego City Council days, Tony Young, but I didn't see him anywhere. Did he come and go early or what? I don't know. But it was a tremendous gathering and really inspirational. It got my blood going, and I really appreciate it. I thought that Ms. Lopez Abeda was going to mention the legislative subcommittee that we had, meeting that we had this past week, but I'll throw it to you if you want. But we had quite a discussion about health insurance for our cafeteria workers, and spoke with our lobbyists in Sacramento to start the process, get the wheels going, because I think all of us here on the dais, and obviously a lot of you, believe, especially coming out of a pandemic that we may not really be out of yet, but we've learned a lesson about the importance of everybody having healthcare. So nobody has to come to work sick and possibly pass things along to children and staff and this community. This district serves about 1 million meals a year. And we need to make sure that people behind the counter and in front of the counter are protected. So those talks are beginning, and that was, the discussion was in our legislative subcommittee. So stay tuned, as they say. I think that there's some really important issues. Thank you.
Trustee Emerald, that was the next item. That was A4, and you just stole my thunder.
You know what they say, you snooze, you lose, lady. No, but you have all the details. I'm just warming them up for you.
Okay, I'd like, if I get a motion to reconsider the consent agenda?
Were you done with F3?
Yes.
Okay.
So. Second. So now we have a vote to reconsider.
So this is, he requested a motion to be able to reconsider the consent agenda because we wanted to add another item to pull. So this is simply a motion asking you if you will be willing to reconsider the consent agenda.
Oh, okay.
Carriaga?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez Zepeda? Yes. Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. We would like to approve the consent agenda as previously stated with the addition of item F4 being pulled by Ms. Lopez Zepeda.
And just a question here, since my internet isn't coming up here. F4 is.
F4 is the report on the legislative update,
Thank you.
so that she can
Okay,
give an
thank you.
update.
There you go.
Yes.
My apology.
My thunder for?
So if we can have a motion
So
to approve the consent agenda as previously stated with F4.
So moved.
Second. Vote please.
Carriaga?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Here, yes.
Lopez Zepeda? Yes. Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Now you
F4.
can do F4.
F4, legislative update. On our meeting on Monday, the purpose and history of the committee was shared, and basically create awareness of current and new legislation that affects education. And legislative updates, there were a few updates that were standouts. One was Senate Bill 490, which was the Buy American Food Act that requires that the district buy California-grown food items before going out. And unfortunately, that increases the cost. So Sweetwater is paying a little extra for nutrition. There's a shortfall in the amount of nutritional reimbursements that is provided by the federal government because of this bill. The California budget in itself has a shortfall, a fall, and because of the rainy day fund that was created by Governor Brown, that will be covering the education funding for this year, or for Prop 98. Another bill is Senate Bill 28, which is the education finance, which is a state-wide bond measure. It increases the amount from in asking for a bond, okay? The legislative lobbying platform set for Sweetwater based on previous years. And we are looking to continue working with our educational partners, which is the California School Board and the Association of blah, 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 school administrators. AXA. And the second party member of AXA. We were looking at continuing the lobbying platform for full and fair funding for special education, student support for mental and behavior health services and school safety, school nutrition and the federal school meals program, looking to lobby for an increased reimbursement of meals to retain and recruit nutritional employees with competitive wages and benefits. Oh, boy. We're working, we're trying. And then again, this one's really good, investments of broadband access. So that's something we still need to work on, obviously. And that would be the platform for both the federal and state lobbying. Okay, and we will be meeting quarterly or as needed to revise and refine any of the issues that come across. Any questions? I know, Trustee Emerald took it off. So bummed.
Hey, I'm a rank amateur here, so I'll give you a little time. But thank you for chairing this very important meeting. We got a lot done. And I think that under your leadership, we're going to see some real changes and greater steps toward equity for employees who work as hard as many of them, all of them do. But to help those cafeteria workers, I think is going to be a priority.
Thank you. That concludes our four. We'll move to F6, called by Trustee Solis.
Thank you, President Luna.
Staff.
I'd like to put the names forward for consideration. Our own Alva Lopez Cepeda, Whitney Entrim, Melissa Kroger, Kelly Leaker, Cipriano Vargas, and Katrina Yan. Oh, for the CSBA Delegate Assembly.
A second. Motion and second. Any questions? If not, we'll vote.
Arriaga?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
F7, called by the public.
I have one speaker, Michelle Beal.
So Ms. Emerald, in order to get internet in this district, you usually have to get like the rabbit ears with the foil. So last month I made it a point to bring attention to how much we're paying out in special education settlements. So I calculated how much the district has paid this school year in SPED settlement agreements, which in January was $536,816. This month, we're adding an additional $44,922.36 to that total, bringing our new total up to $581,738.63. Ms. Emerald, last month after I spoke in this matter, you asked if the total on the January agenda was for the year, and you also asked for clarification on why the district is paying out the settlements. First, no, the amount brought forth each month is for approval for that month and that month only. The total is not cumulative, which is why in order to put it into perspective of how much we are paying in settlement agreements, I felt it necessary to total the amount to date. In regards to your second question, contrary to the answer you provided to you by your colleagues, no, we're not paying $581,738.63 for one missed meeting. Typically, the agreements are for compensatory education, like if we fail to provide a service. Although I understand that all districts are struggling to hire special education teachers, it still doesn't absolve the district of its responsibility to provide these students the services described in their IEPs. The reason I continue to bring forth these dollar amounts is because I continue to struggle to get basic things for my students at my school. I just had a conversation with Dr. Alvarez, who's always extremely supportive of the things that we do because she sees how effective they are for kids. But when I have to ask for $100 and I can't get it, to give kids an opportunity to participate in Blue Dot programs, which we're highly investing in, and we're seeing the results in lower suspensions, it's heartbreaking. So yeah, I'll give the $100 out of my pocket, but I really shouldn't have to. The kids in special education at my school and other schools should have the opportunity to do some of the same things that other kids do. So I really think it's important that we go back and look at how we can better serve this population of students.
No further speakers.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
The second. Vote, please.
Arriaga?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
H1, pulled by the public.
I'm sorry, F12.
F1. Thank you.
I have one speaker, Michelle Beal.
I spoke to this in my, this matter briefly in my public comment, but I'll elaborate a little bit more now. I'm glad that after three revisions to the posting, that the district was finally able to calculate the salary schedule correctly for this new position. The bigger question for me though is, although these positions will fall under SCGA, why did I have to point out the $13,000 error on the salary schedule? Whose job is it to oversee the accuracy of the information being posted on EdJoin? Because it's not mine. Who has oversight on classification and compensation, and who's signing off on everything saying that it's correct? If it were me or any other non-management employee making these types of errors, you can bet that we'd be admonished for it. Again, I realize these new positions fall under SUHSD, but I also have a full-time job, and it shouldn't have to include overseeing job posting and salary schedules.
No further speakers.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Carriaga?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez Zepeda?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, H1's for real.
Yes, I have one speaker, Michelle Beal.
First, let me start by saying that I 100% support and am thankful for any additional mental health support services that we can get for our students and trainings for our staff. We all know that our students can certainly benefit from these additional supports. That's not my concern. My concern is more about the timing of which they are being offered. For those who don't know, second semester is probably the busiest semester for counselors, especially February and March, when counselors are pre-registering students for next school year while completing their plethora of other daily duties. Scheduling trainings and on-campus mental health activities during these months makes it difficult for counselors to get away to take advantage of the trainings or to fully assist in these opportunities. Last year, SCGA asked to have input on these matters, and our request fell on deaf ears. This year, SCGA is again asking that we have input or at least be notified in advance of what we're being committed to. I realize that some folks here in this room don't think that counselors should even be written into MOUs. Fortunately for counselors, another assembly bill, Ms. Lopez Zepeda, Bill 2508, amends several sections of California Ed Code 49600 to accurately reflect the role and responsibilities of school counselors, and it reinforces our role in education. SCGA is asking that moving forward, in order to have the most counselors available to assist organizations like South Bay Community Service and attend trainings like Prepare or Mental Health First Aid, it would be helpful to have counselor input to identify the optimum time of the year when these could take place. Counselors are always willing to assist, especially when it's for our students. It just makes it difficult when we're given short notice.
No further speakers.
I'll entertain a motion for H1.
So moved.
I'll second it. Vote please.
Carriaga?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez Zepeda?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And we'll go to O1, which is full by staff report.
Thank you, President Segura. This item is going to be providing information only at this time regarding the implementation of Assembly Bill 181, which is home to school transportation. So our operations team has been working on the implementation plan, and before it comes forward for action next month, Ms. Jeanette Quirk and Tennessee, they're going to be presenting the approach towards, again, implementing, first kind of describing what this bill does in terms of transportation and how the priority process will be moving forward. So with that, I'll ask Ms. Quirk to make this presentation. Ms. Quirk.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Aguirre. Good evening, President Segura, Board of Trustees, and again, Dr. Aguirre. Thank you for providing us the opportunity tonight to come and speak with you and introduce to you AB 181, Home to School Transportation. I have on to my right here, Ms. Jana Sato. She is our fabulous Director of Transportation. You'll be hearing more about her soon enough. So tonight, we just want to take a few minutes and talk to you about some new, hold on, before I get a hold of myself. Transportation, let me just tell you about them just for a minute because they're new to a few of you up on the dais. We are a team of 118, 77 bus drivers, to which there's currently 9 vacancies. These are important pieces of information as we move forward through this conversation. 21 transportation attendants with 8 current vacancies, and then comprised of 3 other support staff for mechanics, trainers, office staff, and then Director Saylor herself, to which there's 3 vacancies. In the 21-22 school year, for reference, they've driven approximately 900,000 miles and are anticipating clearing 1 million in for this school year alone. And that's for regular routes and also supporting athletics, FAPA, et cetera. They have an annual operating budget of essentially 11.2. 1.3 of that is built into the LCFF. And then the remaining part of that is from 8.7. That 1.3, hold on to that. You'll see that in a future slide when we talk to you about some of the impacts from AB 181. And then currently, just for everybody's reference, current law requires us to do transport for any pupil from a school district county office of education, including students with disabilities. And so we currently do that. And then also, as a reminder, just a prompt, we do transport for students for middle schools within 2.5 miles and for high schools within 3.5 miles that are outside of those windows. Funding history for transportation. Really, there hasn't been much. If you look at this slide, it tells you there has been no increase to funding since 1989, 1990, and that we are not offset with additional funds for special education. In 2013-14, under LCFF, home to school funding balance or funding included transportation, and that's where that 1.3, we started to see that on a regular annual basis being added to the budgets. And then this year, what we're here to talk to you about is AB 181, which is an education omnibus budget trailer bill, which essentially adds new language to 2 sections of the Ed Code, and the reference right there, and we'll get into them a little bit deeper as we move through the slide. So part 1 is for new Ed Code language under 4.1850.1, and this is regarding our monies. So to date, we are fully funded. We get the 1.3 million, and then the rest of our funding for transportation comes from the GFU. What this bill does is it's going to put districts in the position essentially to under function 3600, which is in our funding strings, to allow certain things to qualify for additional for reimbursement. My clicker's not working. I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. It'll allow us to pursue reimbursement for things that you can see eligible examples of salaries for transportation, fuel, tires, kind of parts for certain portions of the buses. Non-eligible expenditures would be any leases that we do, student activities, capital outlay, and non-agency expenses. So 60%, we'll have a slide for that so you can see a demonstration of that. And we don't have the details. It's up to 60% that we may be able to be reimbursed for from the state. There's not clear guidance on that yet. However, we are having to move towards developing a plan for how we would implement that. We are working side by side with finance as we are preparing for our funding and our forecasting for the 23-24 school year. We've already started talking about and taking a look at aligning any of the eligible criteria that's been identified from the state and making sure that those are over in the right lines underneath the 3600 function code. And then the other thing that we have in addition to currently in terms of offsetting our budget is we also have bus pass revenue, which last year we averaged about $385,000 in addition to the 1.3. So in terms of this portion of the Ed Code, what they're requiring us to do is we have to have a plan submitted to you and approved by April 1st. It does not have to go to CDE. What we are clear about and they have shared with us is when they finish determining the auditing requirements, what they have not yet done, next year on our 21-22 or our 22-23 expenditures, they will ask for verification that we brought forward a transportation plan to you and that it demonstrates the approval from the dais, which we'll be bringing forth to you in March. Again, the requirements for the audit and the collection requirements are unclear. We don't know. So we have the guidance of Dr. Salkel, thankfully, from that fiscal lens, and she's helping us do this from a pretty conservative approach combined with the detail that Ms. Saylor maintains for her department in terms of their expenditures. So this right here is an example of Jenna threw together some numbers. If you assumed we had an $8 million budget, up to 60% of the reimbursement would be a 4.8. We take off that 1.3 that we get annually, correct? And right now we're assuming we would also offset it by what we have on average to date for our bus pass, with a total allowance of a potential reimbursement of 3.1. And I want to begin to stress that again. It says in the language up to 3.1. So we don't know what that means because, again, there is some ambiguity in terms of the detail of the language, and they have eligible and non-eligible sections, but we don't know if there's going to be finite language that will be presented to us that will take some of the things in the eligible section, therefore reducing what our assumptions are. So we just wanted to give you an example of what this could look like as we move forward. And then the second piece is a little bit of a shift of the conversation. The first piece is easy. It's about money. Here's what we did. Here's what we didn't do. It's dollars and cents. It's all there. The second piece is interesting. And the italicized language is directly from the section code 39800.1. We left it in there so there was not the feeling or interpretation of us and how we interpreted that language. But essentially what it does is it prioritizes, and I'm not going to read all of it to you in detail, it prioritizes transportation for unduplicated students. So we already capture transportation as a requirement for a portion of our unduplicated students, specifically our foster homeless and also our students with disabilities. This language, when you take that top section and the first bullet under additionally, it blankets unduplicated more broadly. Because it also demonstrates low income and English language learners. So it basically is casting a broader net to our unduplicated students in the transportation services to which we are supposed to be prioritizing and demonstrating our prioritization of those students in terms of providing access to transportation for school. So we left that language there for you to take a look at. It also calls for us to be having meetings with stakeholders and doing different levels of communication and outreach. And then again, to have our plan, which we provided with this item for your reference, a draft of the plan that Ms. Saylor is putting together, that we will bring back to you in March. And then we have to update that annually every year. We do anticipate that this is going to be fairly fluid with CVE. Most school districts are having the same questions that we have because there's no detail in certain sections of even CVE's FAQ with regards to very specific and targeted questions. So we'll continue to monitor that and assess our plan as we move forward once we bring it to you throughout the 23-24 fiscal year. And I believe that it's something that will continue to change with language, and we'll always have to just be updating it and being a little bit nimble with some of our approaches as they refine their parameters to us. So our action plan for right now, Ms. Saylor has been doing an in-depth review of our current bus pass program, which she has down pretty well, with the focus of removing any barriers that we may have in our system with regards to the prioritization of the students identified under 3900. So right now, what we're working towards developing is that we will develop, typically our bus pass program does not open for bus pass until July 1. It's always been connected to the ability to pay for your bus pass. We are removing that and we're pulling the bus pass application earlier into the school year. So we are going to start that process between now and the end of June. And what we're looking at is targeting and developing a 30-day window that all students can submit their application for bus pass service, prioritizing our unduplicated students, and then for the 23-24 school year. After that 30-day window, the prioritization kind of becomes a set aside, and then we will start putting students on wait lists according to basically the prioritization, first come, first serve. That's how necesita will develop wait lists. On all of our bus routes right now, we have active wait lists for students. And it runs the gamut of our unduplicated and our non-unduplicated students. And so that's one of the things that necesita is taking a look at and running information on. If we were to work with these new formulas, how many of our non-unduplicated students would have an impact. And it's going to be a little bit of an ebb and flow at this point, but we're not seeing that there's going to be a significant shift in impact to the services that we provide. There will be some, but we cannot gauge that as we don't know the volume of students that will pursue bus pass applications. And then the other target market in this process would be those incoming 7th graders that we have as well, to making sure that we're providing them the same window of time, the same notification that all of our current students have, so that all of our students for 23-24 have the same access for bus passes. And then our extended response plan is, again, we're setting meetings with our stakeholders. We are continuing to do outreach to MTS to see if there's any capacity, and there hasn't been to date, to extend and add more service on the east side where we have farther distances to schools and less access to direct and more immediate public transportation. So we'll continue to pound that with them. They are growing. You see those things happening on the east side with some of the other different systems that they have in place with their speed rail and some of the other routes that they're doing at this time. And then again, as I've indicated, Ms. Saylor is on top of and continues to monitor the data regarding our student ridership, looking for efficiencies. When we came back from the pandemic, we were just staring at this huge, like, what are we going to do situation? This is a nightmare. And every time we would talk about it, she was like, I can't do it. We can't get any farther. And every single time she came back with a problem solved and a better solution, with barely, like, I think we only had to reduce by 2 routes, but we were able to maintain the same volume of service to our students. And that's the same approach that we're doing right now. Going full circle to the beginning of the presentation, I do want to bring us back to, we continue to struggle with being fully staffed. Every time we hire 1, we lose 2. And this is not something that has changed for us this year. We are not forecasting that it will change unless we get an automatic and amazing supply of people who want to become bus drivers for us. And everybody's having that same issue. And so that will be a little bit of a continued a bit of a pull on the program. And as we are able to make success and forward motions and close that gap of that opening of what averages 9 bus driver openings, we will look at continuing to pull students off wait lists and continue to provide more access for transportation services. So at this time, this is just a quick snapshot. We provided a very detailed PowerPoint to you on a Friday update. If you really wanted to go down this rabbit hole, you're welcome to go do so. We wanted to give you a soundbite about where we currently stand. And then also for your reference, the draft that Jenna has in motion, which I would say at this point is a solid 95%. There's some refinement that we'll do as we continue to think tank this process in the next 6 weeks or so before we come back. So open to any questions.
Thank you.
I have a question. Thank you for being very thorough, but I do have a few questions. You're meeting with the required stakeholders. Does that mean that you're meeting at school sites or a centralized place, or, because all of this has to be done in the next?
It's pretty short order.
Yeah.
So we have already started, we met with cabinet, we've done some administrators. We have a couple of target areas that are probably of broader, bigger conversation pieces on with the Rancho Del Rey and East Lake Middle so we will go to those probably 2 school sites and open up for opportunity. Where we'll also develop an FAQ that we can communicate with. We'll be working with grants and communications. We're talking about what our flyer looks like, that we're putting the information out there for all students. We're also talking about eliminating the paying for bus passes for any student for next year as well, just to kind of neutralize the entire situation. So we'll be in all of that those 2 target schools for sure, and then we are looking at maybe doing a couple other broader general meetings, and then DLAC, DPAC, and then we'll go back to cabinet and then maybe a couple other things here and there, but a lot of it's gonna be more informative at this point. And then providing some opportunity for some feedback and engagement. We are gonna be very limited in terms of what our parameters are that we can shift in terms of where the plan is currently headed.
Another question that I have you considered sending out surveys?
We have, and here's the question. We have struggled with what the survey would reflect. When we look at the volume of students that we service right now, the limitations that we have with adding routes due to our limitations with staff. And that's where Ms. Saylor has been really diving into what our current story tells us, right? How many students that we currently serve on our buses that pay versus the non-paid students. We also will be working with different software next year that's going to tell us how often students are actually riding on those buses. We have kids that we know pay for bus passes, but aren't necessarily riding the bus. Yeah. So they're taking seats. And so we're moving into a software that will allow us to be more current with that information. And that's one of the things that we're talking about is how do we manage that a little bit, but also more specifically, we're cautious about the survey because we don't know, if we're just being honest, like in a place where there's a lot of capacity for flex or change of focus at this point. I think surveys will be something we'll need to continue through next year as we continue to manage how we move into this program and what the response is and where the challenges present for us as we move forward.
One other question. My kids were bus riders, and at the district that I work at, our bus riders have to scan their passes as they enter the bus. So the district always keeps track of who's on the bus, who gets off, when and where. Is that something that is already happening here or?
Introduce you to Jenna.
Excuse me. Yes, thank you for the question. We do have the hardware. It's through a company called Zonar. And it's called the Z-Pass. Several districts use the same software, and we do have the hardware. We're actually looking at an update to the tablets that are in the buses that do take that data when the students come on and off.
Okay, that was just my question because I asked that and it's like, well, how are you monitoring who's on or who's off? I mean, I personally paid for the bus passes for my kids and they walked. So I was not very happy.
We realize and we understand we have some of those things happening out there. So we're going to be assessing this on a daily basis as we move forward with our plan and then through the next school year as well.
Thank you for all your hard work.
And Jenna, she's the one that makes it happen.
Any other comments? Yeah, just a couple of more questions. You were talking about the Z-Pass, you have the hardware, how about the software?
So the software is web-based, and so that piece is already there. But as technology constantly changes, we've had some issues with it locking into our routing software, which is what we're currently upgrading. That will give us a lot more information. It will provide a lot more communication to parents, which is something they've been asking for. It'll give them updates on like where the bus is, when it will be there. So there's a lot of things that will hopefully happen in quick order that will do all of that stuff.
Is that going to make the April 1st deadline or the April meeting deadline?
No, that will not.
So that piece would be, so the April 1st is for us to get the communications out and the plan in place. That piece that you were talking about right there would be more like the July 20th implementation, start of school. So the software that she's referring to, you would, if you had a student, you would know where your route is, what time Johnny's being picked up. If we're late, it would be communicating to you directly on your own personal device as well as to our bus drivers.
Okay, and are we pretty clear that it's going to make that deadline so that we don't have some issues, kids trying to catch buses and not being able to get on or something?
I would say that when you look at our existing practices and where we're headed, I think those two things will be aligning and we will be operational and we'll be able to have those communications in place.
We will keep asking every month.
And we welcome that.
Right, because we don't want a bunch of kids standing around the street corners waiting for a bus and not being able to get on. And speaking of which, how much are the bus passes?
Bus passes annually are $400, and it's $200 for a one-way pass. And we also do a quarterly pass to help make that a little bit more affordable. So every quarter they can pay $100 or $50 for one way.
And then you're talking with MTS, any movement on getting
Up to see if there will be an extension of their pronto limit of it as we move through this next year. And that was target, I think it allowed to provide for free anywhere they wanted to go. So we'll be checking that out. In addition to really continuing to press them on if they have opportunity to add routes or anything to help make that, especially on that east side section, there's some corridors through there where there's a pretty decent walk in order to get to public transportation. If they can add a few in between there, that just helps our students get where they need to go a little bit faster.
So is it easier to get something like that up and going, say on the west side where we have more traditional grids?
There's more routes via MTS on the western portion of our district for sure.
So what do we need to do to impress on MTS the importance of expanding this, these free bus passes or reduced costs?
Was influxed to MTS to offset that, so that's part of what we'll be checking into. And then continuing to look at partnerships, sometimes, relationships make a difference. Us communicating to them about our needs, the growth happening within the community, and just finding where those efficiencies come into play.
Will you let us?
We will. And Jenna's really, she has that whole area, she has that down pretty pat in terms of knowing, continue to provide, because we know there's a gap with the public transportation.
Okay, gotcha. And expect more of these questions and requests for updates going forward, because it's so important to meet these deadlines so that come beginning of the new school session, we don't have kids with no transportation.
Further comments on that? That's it. We are adjourned.